It's time for you to grow up. Think, Mark. You're too old to be spewing this garbage. I mean, you have no hobbies, no self-control. I mean, you can't even read. What are these for? Now get up, grow up, and join me.
Skibbity.
What's 17 more years? I can always have another kid. Start again. What have I done?
Nah, you good, bro. You was tripping.
Yeah, we agree with your decision.
For real?
Yeah, word of bro.
Damn.
Yeah, dude was too old to be saying skibbity, bro. I'm gonna be honest with you. Wait, who's that?
Who is that?
The year is... Hey, wrong camera angle, bro. Come on.
The year is 2026, but a lot of us still act like we're in middle school. Back in 2020, we didn't have to pay attention at all. The online meetings, we could be playing games, we could be sleeping. It didn't matter. We got past it regardless. But it ain't like that anymore. Life is back to normal, but a lot of us still act like we're 12. Like, you're 18, you're 17, you're 16. You're too old to be acting like this. I want to focus on mental maturity today. Why immaturity is bad, why maturity is good, what they both look like, and more importantly, how to become mature. Before all of that though, it's important that I tell you what maturity even is. Maturity means a lot of things, so I don't want to memorize them, so I wrote them down, so we're going to read on the list together. Maturity means knowing when to take things seriously, taking responsibility for your actions, making good decisions and healthy decisions that affect yourself and others, properly prioritizing needs and wants, having self-control over your actions and emotions, and choosing actions based not only on the immediate result, but on the long-term result. And I'm not just gonna give you those definitions. We're gonna break it down real quick, right? If you're like me before I made this video and I thought about this a lot and you don't know what a mature person means or you can't verbalize it, but you have an image in your head, just look at what that person's life looks like. Does that person that you think of push the blame on others? No, right? They take accountability. Does this person, and just to kind of clarify, I'm talking about a mature person in your head, do they do things that sacrifice their long-term benefit for short-term gain? Short-term gain? I don't know why I keep messing that up. For short-term gain? Short-term? I've had to record this 3 times because I keep saying that. Is it mentally mature for somebody, for instance, to take a substance that, slows them down, that actually negatively affects them, both in the short term and the long term? No, right? No, this person makes healthy decisions. They think of the big picture. They control themselves and they're slow to anger. They don't make rash decisions. They actually think before they do. They think before they react, right? They're not reactionary. There's thoughts behind their actions and their words. Imagine what kids do. And I'm not trying to throw kids under the bus, but imagine the stereotypical kid that is immature, right? Pretty much the opposite of that kid is a mature person, which makes sense. If this is an immature person, the opposite would be mature. So think of what a kid does. Most kids pout. Most kids blame other people for their own mistakes, their own actions. They don't take accountability. Most kids, most kids, just like immature children, right? Immature people, they do these actions. Most kids lash out emotionally or physically. I think you can start to get the sense of what a mature person looks like. And because you have that image in your head, you can extract the definition of maturity from that person. Now that we know what maturity means, why is it bad to be immature? At first, it sounds like a dumb question, but let's expand it, right? A lot of the times we have opinions, we have things that we believe that we don't actually know why we believe them. We just take it as obvious. So let's expand this question. Why is immaturity a bad thing? I have found, after thinking for a little bit for this video, that immaturity is bad for, I think, 3 reasons, right? And that first one being, it makes people think of you as a child. They treat you like you are not worthy of consideration. But even worse than that, the second reason immaturity is bad is because it makes you look at yourself that way. When you act like a child, when you act immature, you make yourself, or you see yourself as someone who doesn't deserve to be thought of seriously. Like most people, when somebody hears a kid say something, they're like, oh yeah, but then they think they're dumb, or they think they're uneducated, or they just don't know yet. That's how you make yourself seem. That's how you seem to yourself and to others. When you do that, when you feel that way about yourself, you kind of shut down any potential that you have to grow beyond that. You kind of cap yourself off as this dude who isn't to be taken seriously. Your mind is very powerful, and whatever you believe, most likely that's what's going to happen. I'm not saying you're going to conjure it, but if you see yourself as someone who never goes to the gym, you're not going to go to the gym. If you see yourself as someone who plays video games all day, you're more likely to play video games all day. Same thing with this. If you see yourself as someone who isn't to be taken seriously, then you're most likely not going to be taken seriously by yourself and by others. which can kind of just, like I said before, cap your potential to become anything more than that. Something else immaturity brings are actions and behavior that leads to negative outcomes for yourself and for others around you. Example, right? If you get provoked and you start a fight, right? You may not only start a fight, which is bad for yourself, but for those around you. Maybe your friends get into the fight now because they're trying to protect you, and the guy you're fighting with has friends, and it's like it creates a brawl, right? This is an example of immaturity, of a lack of self-control, emotionally and physically, that leads to a bad outcome for not just yourself, but for everyone around you. You get the point. Immaturity is bad. And if you reverse the reason why immaturity is bad to why maturity is good, you get the answer why maturity is good. So we're just going to glance over that. Maturity is good because not only does it allow you to see yourself more seriously, but it also helps you open doors that you may not have been able to open without people taking you more seriously. Like if some dude dresses up as a clown and then acts like a clown in a business meeting, nobody's going to take that dude seriously. Nobody's going to give him the grant that he needs or the money that he needs to fund this project. You get what I'm saying? So maturity just opens doors for you in that way. And you can still get somewhere with a little bit of immaturity, but maturity kind of smooths out that process. It makes it more easy and, it's just more enjoyable. Maturity also gives other people around you more of an obligation to respect you. Even with all that, there's one more thing that maturity gives you, at least that I can think of. And let's go back to that fight example I was talking about earlier. In that example, the immature person gets not just himself, but his friends and also more people to get into like a brawl, right? A mature person in that situation would either exit the conversation when it started getting provocative, or they would just not fight back, or not fight back, but like not get into the fight to begin with. They'd avoid that situation, and avoiding that situation would not only lead to a better result for him and the person he's fighting, but for the people around him as well. So maturity brings traits that allow you to have better situations than you would have without it. Now for the most important part of this video, how do we become mature people? How do we gain maturity? And it's a lot simpler than you think, right? Remember when we envisioned the mature person, what their actions looked like, how their life looked? That's pretty much the answer right there. That's how we become mature. We can start becoming more mature by having that mental image in our brain, right? And thinking about that, what they would do in certain situations, and then actively making ourselves think in a similar way. This change isn't immediate, but by continuously making ourselves actively think about these things, such as, I'm not going to get into a fight. I'm going to control my emotions better, my actions better. I'm going to take responsibility, accountability, stuff like that. If we make ourselves actively think about those things, it's not going to be instant, like I said, but we are going to become more mature because we're acting like a mature person. We just have to simply go out of our way to make ourselves think like them, like actively, even if we don't believe it, like, I'm a mature person. I'm going to take accountability. And then making ourselves believe it by doing actions that, line up with that identity. For instance, we can practice building self-control, which is a part of maturity, with small actions, right? Maybe not picking up that piece of candy today. Maybe not scrolling today. Just in that instance, maybe for like 15 minutes we don't scroll when we usually would. Small actions, small events that will eventually build our identity to become mature people. And when our identity is of a mature person, we make mature decisions. That is how we can change. Purposeful reconstruction of our actions and our mental thought processes. Now let's go back to the situation in the very beginning of this video and see what a mature person would do.
Think, Mark. You're too old to be spewing this garbage. I mean, you have no hobbies, no self-control. I mean, you can't even read. What are these for? Now get up, grow up, and join me.
Yeah, my bad, bro. I need to lock in.
I'm glad you decided to join. Let's go. Also, how did you get your glasses back?
I don't know. They kind of just come back to me. What? You were just talking about...